If your parents had cancer, are you doomed to have cancer too? If you live a healthy lifestyle and you change your body's environment, you can change your DNA, your genes. Well, what's the difference between epigenetics and genetic?
That's a really good point that you're bringing out. Genetics are our DNA, and if our DNA is thought of as something fixed, then you're doomed if your genes are bad. You're just going to get the problems that develop. But epigenetics is a different concept. It says that DNA is changeable, and it's affected by the environment. It's affected by lifestyle, and big time. Enough so that it can change whether or not you're going to be at risk for cancer or heart attacks or strokes or almost any disease there is. Because there's a profound effect of how you live your life on how DNA expresses itself through activation of different kinds of genes.
Maybe we could start out by talking first about what methylation is.
That's the change that these people in this study measured. There was a study published in Aging Cell in December of 2012, and what they showed is that when you are exposing yourself to different kinds of environmental situations, say you're exposed to selenium, or you're exposed to the sun, so you make enough vitamin D, you're going to change the way your genes will work to activate those kinds of cancers that they studied here that had to do with colon cancer. And methylation was the change that they measured. And what methylation is when a chemical reaction occurs between something called a methyl group, and you don't need to know anything more than that about it, but when a methyl group attaches to DNA, it changes the way the genes will be activated and affect whether or not you're at risk for developing colon cancer.
So selenium and vitamin D
protect against
this
methylation
which
reaction.
is the cancer. And too much folate and obesity, which we didn't really get to yet, but those increase the risk of colon cancer.
Yeah, it's interesting because folic acid, is something we think we need more than what we're getting. And particularly in pregnancy, where women are, if they're low in folic acid, they run a much higher risk of developing cleft palates and other kinds of genetic defects.
In their babies.
Yes, and neural tube defects. It can be a disaster. So we get a little bit confused, and it's good sometimes when the Institute of Medicine kind of puts the brakes on things and says, wait a minute now, it's got to be just right or you've got a problem. Again, it's like baby bear's porridge. If it's too much and it's too hot, it's no good. And if it's too cold, it's no good. Well, it's the same thing here.
Yeah, and they seem to find out that these factors are turned off and on, especially over age 50. And I was wondering if that might be the reason why they recommend colonoscopies over 50.
Well, we do colonoscopies in people over 50 because they're at a higher risk for developing cancer, and that's when screening starts. And the mechanism you described is part of the reason why. So that would be good thinking. But the whole story of colonoscopy is a long, complicated one. I suggest if you want to learn more about whether or not it's indicated or not, go to drsaputo.com, put colonoscopy in there, and you get lots of videos and audios that talk about why that's maybe not such a good idea as a screening test starting at age 50.
So do you think that it's enough to just get out in the sun and to eat a healthy diet to get the amounts of selenium that you need? And if you do need folate, if you're pregnant, is it enough to just get it in your diet? And also, or should you have a supplement? I mean, what are the doses that would be recommended?
Well, see, here's the problem. We really should be measuring things in people to find out where they are. Otherwise, we're just taking guesses at what the best approach is to try and prevent these epigenetic changes in DNA. So, in general, maybe something like 100 micrograms a day of folic acid would be a good thing for women who are pregnant. A selenium, you can get the amount that you need in a Brazil nut or two if you want to get that.
You don't want to overdo that. I remember seeing a movie one time, and that's what they used for the poison to kill somebody.
Well, it's like
selenium.
It's balance again, because the cellular biochemistry that we have is beyond comprehension of the human mind up to this point, and we're not even close to understanding all the details of how that works. But what we do need to appreciate is that there's a lot you can do based on how you live your life that will affect whether or not a cancer will progress or whether or not you get a cancer or many other things. And one of the great examples was Dean Ornish's study on prostate cancer.
Right.
I keep repeating this in so many of the studies because he did some brilliant work that looked at men who had prostate cancer was very early and mild, and these were people that you could watch and wait and see what happened without having to worry about their cancers going on to become lethal. And so he did that for about 3 months, and what he did is he biopsied all the 300 people in the study. He looked at the oncogenes, the cancer genes, to see if they're turned on or off, and in all these people that had cancer, the oncogenes were, 500 of them were turned on. Then at the end of 3 months, he studied them again. And the group that he did nothing to, biopsied again, all the oncogenes are turned off, or turned on. And in the group, okay, that he did treatment for with lifestyle, did meditation and exercise and stress reduction and encourage sleep and all these good things that help us to be stronger and healthier. And most of those genes were turned off at the end of 3 months when they were biopsied, so that the 500 oncogenes in the group that was a control was a big problem, but in the group that was treated made a huge difference.
So besides a healthy diet and a healthy level of these nutrients that we're talking about, and a healthy weight, and getting enough sun exposure,
right?
How would you say that a healthy lifestyle, and which would also include avoiding toxic exposures and so forth, how would you say that that would compare to chemotherapy in cancer?
Oh, it's much more powerful.
You said that
it's
it
much
showed
more
that
powerful.
in Dean Ornish's study.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, that it's odd to me that the oncologists focus so much on chemotherapies and surgeries and radiation, and they're not looking at lifestyle, which is way more powerful. It's not even close. Maintaining a vitamin D level that's right, exercising, stress reduction, sleeping right, avoiding toxic exposures, weighing what you should, all the things Vicky's been talking about here are absolutely powerful factors. And if we had a lifestyle kind of medicine that we used in the practice of medicine today, we wouldn't see the epidemic of chronic diseases. There wouldn't be 50% of Americans having a chronic disease. We wouldn't be seeing the stretching of our economy to try and accommodate these skyrocketing health care costs that we can't afford. Nor would we have to expose people to all these dangerous treatments that are necessary in a sick care system.
So there's hope for epigenetic changes
Yes.
if our, in our DNA, if our parents had cancer. So,
Oh, right.
So we can change our destiny.
Absolutely. So if you want to do the best you can for yourself and your family, do the lifestyle things. Avoid the toxic exposures. Don't just start taking a bunch of supplements willy-nilly. And chances are you're going to do a lot better. The cost of healthcare is going to go down, and we're going to have a country that's full of healthy people.